going to make some quick introductions, and then we'll start our program. First and foremost, I want to thank our facility partners, the Optimist Youth Home Family Services. And we have several of their staff that's here with us. This event is happening because of the National Diversity Coalition, so we'll meet Faith Bautista. But for Avance, there are several different people that are involved in getting this together. Think of it as two levels. One level is the actual material, the financial literacy work that the students that are seated here are going to gain. But then there was the event production, event planning, and that was done by the upper grade students. Right? So we have two different levels of learning happening here. Actually, and it's three, because our vision is that then these students are going to take the books back with their parents, and work with their parents. So I want to introduce the event, our chief officers, our project manager, Shamara, and the person that was supporting her, Ms. Sosa, our instructor. Okay. And how many students did we have working on this? 45 students that were helping to produce this. So with that, let me invite Faith and Ms. Bear to come up. Faith, all good to see you.
Good morning. My name is Faith Bautista, and I just want to tell you this is a blessed day for all of us. If I was at your age having a speaker like Miss Sheila Bear, I could not imagine where I would have been. As a young girl, I came here in the United States without learning how to speak English. And I had less than $20 in my pocket. So, being an immigrant, it was harder for me to adapt to United States. But getting education all the time, every year, every month, as much as possible, I take myself, get educated so I can be where I want to be someday. And I'm hoping what I'm really asking from each one of you is to take this day, that this is a new beginning for you and your family. That someday you're gonna be like Miss Sheila Bear. And it's possible. Nothing is really impossible. And the way Avance did it today, it will be a lot easier for you. So whatever you're learning today, don't take it as only it's an event today, right? This is just the beginning. And Avance, your teachers, the National Diversity Coalition, are here to help you. So we have scholarships that we will be sharing with you later on and giving you a on-the-job training. So I want to introduce to you this beautiful woman who really cares for us. She was like the Robin Hood. She was the one helping the poor people. She was the one helping those that don't know banking. Do you guys know banking? Yeah, there you go. Who doesn't know banking? Okay, so you know banking and he doesn't know banking. It's okay. When I was your age, I was always confused. But there's always somebody in our country, not just one or two, but more, that are willing to help out in our community. So I want to introduce to you Miss Sheila Bear. She's a very important person.
And yet, she's very, very kind to flew from Washington, D.C. and be here at our place today. Miss Sheila.
Thank you, Faith. Great. Thank you, Faith. Is this working? Do I need this? Okay, I'll use the hand mic. So, thank you, Faith. It's a mutual admiration society here. As Faith said, I'm the former chair of something called the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. How many of you have bank accounts? Anybody got a bank account? How many of you have been to a bank? Just with, okay. Have you ever seen a sign that says FDIC insured? Okay. So what do you think a bank does when you put your money there? It's called a deposit. So you open an account. Okay, what do you think the bank does with your money? Yeah, what do you think the bank does with your money?
Do they steal your money or they save it?
Oh, okay. So I'll tell you what the bank does. The bank takes your money and it keeps some of it back to make sure it has plenty around if you ever want to withdraw some of your money. And it takes a lot of the rest and it actually makes loans. It may make a loan to buy a house or a car or start a business. And that when they make that loan, they charge something called interest. Anybody know what interest is? Yeah, so you know what it's like to borrow money, right? You borrow money, somebody's giving you money, maybe a bank, and you're gonna have to pay that back, but you're gonna have to pay something extra called interest when you pay it back. And so when a bank makes a loan, it's gonna charge interest. And then that interest is how the bank makes money and pays a little bit of that to you on your deposit. So the point is, sometimes banks make mistakes, right, Faith? And banks can get into trouble. And that's why we have the FDIC. So if the bank makes a mistake where you have your money, that doesn't happen very often. You don't need to worry about it, but occasionally it does. And then the FDIC will make sure your money is protected. You won't lose any money on your deposit. So that isn't unlimited. Does anybody know what the limit is on FDIC insurance? You know the limit? What is it? $1 million. Not quite. It's a big number though. It's $250,000. Okay, anybody here have more than $250,000 in their bank? Yeah. Oh, really? Wow. I'm impressed. Well, you shouldn't. Make sure when you put money in a bank that you're under the insured deposit limit. That's really, really important. So my job there, I ran the FDIC. The FDIC's job was to keep people's money safe. And now I try to help people keep their money safe in a different way. I write children's books that help people understand, young children at an early age, understand just some of the basics around how to handle your money so you don't lose it unnecessarily. So I think it's important to learn how to make money and build wealth, to get jobs, start businesses, earn money, and then take some of that and save it and invest it to build wealth. And my first book, which is called Rock, Brock, and the Saving Shock, that's about the importance of saving money and building wealth over time with regular savings. But people get into trouble with money because they lose it. So it's important not to just understand how to save and invest and build wealth, make more money. It's important to understand how not to lose money. Because when people get into financial trouble, that's what happens. They may get scammed. Some crook, some fraudster may get money from them through fraudulent schemes and scams. But sometimes people just lose money. A common way is that they borrow more than they can afford to pay back. And when you borrow more than you can afford to pay back, all sorts of bad things can happen. So this is what happened in another book I wrote a few years ago called Princess Persephone Loses the Castle. This is a book about mortgage lending. Anybody know what a mortgage is? Yeah? What's a mortgage? Yeah, sure. It's a loan to be able to buy a house. And the important thing to understand about a mortgage is when you buy a house, the bank or other lender that lends you the money to buy your house, if you don't pay that loan back, they can actually take your house away from you. And that's what happened when I first got to know Faith. We had a terrible thing called the Great Financial Crisis, where a lot of irresponsible lenders went to people's homes, knocked on their doors, said, hey, we've got a really great deal for you. We're going to give you this fancy new mortgage, and you're going to be able to get a lot of money up front if we give you this mortgage. And then you can take a long time to pay it back. And it sounded like a great deal, but it really wasn't. Those were unaffordable mortgages. And millions of people lost their homes because they didn't understand those mortgages and the crooks weren't telling them the straight story about what was going on. So that experience, and Faith and I worked together to try to help people save their homes. And we had some success, but so many millions still lost their homes. So I wrote this book. Now, this isn't a sad book. It was inspired by a sad event, but I try to make my books entertaining. I don't want people get threatened or sad in reading my books. So this is a book called Princess Persephone Loses the Castle. And I'm going to read it to you. I hope you enjoy it. Maybe some of you have read it already. And then when I'm done, we're going to go to the individual tables and talk about this book and some others, and I'll be really interested to hear any questions or comments you might have. Okay. Princess Persephone, glued to the phone, talking all day to her friend Mary Joan, complaining about the miserable cold, the freezing ice slaters that did enfold, the moon where she lived called Ganymede, ruled by her dad, King Harris of Tweed. I'm so very cold, the princess cried. Our old ice castle I just can't abide. The wind comes through every crack in the ice, blows out our fires so cheery and nice. I tell my dad in dire frustration, this dumb old castle needs renovation. Persephone's friend was sympathetic. The princess's plight was so pathetic. There wasn't much Mary Joan could do but cluck her tongue and say, oh, poor you. So there she is on the phone in her icy, windy castle. Persephone heard a knock at the door. She hung up the phone and went to explore. In the great hall was her pet dragon, Spice, opening the door for a man who looked nice and carried a briefcase full of white tin. Good morning, he said, I'm Aluminum Jim. You must be the princess, he said with a smile. And you must be Spice, he said it with style. Is Harris at home? He asked, oh so sweetly. I've business with him, he whispered discreetly. No, said the princess, he's gone until spring. He's off doing trade talks or some such thing. Perhaps I can help, the princess said royally, while Spice bit her tongue and kept silence loyally. So there's Aluminum Jim and Persephone and the dragon, and this looks like trouble, doesn't it? Maybe you can, said Jim with a bow. Give me a moment and I'll tell you how. He reached for his case. I've siding to sell to keep you all warm during winter's cold spell. He showed her the samples of tin in his case, explained what they were while Spice made a face. We nail these sheets on the sides of the castle. We will install them without any hassle. They'll keep out the wind, so warm you will feel. Buy them right now, I'll make you a deal. How much do they cost? She asked with a grin. I'm crazy about this floppy white tin. It will look great on the sides of our house. I'll stay as warm as a little gray mouse. Well, let me see, said Jim in reply. This castle is big, 5 stories high. He pulled a computer from his briefcase, began punching keys at a frantic pace. There he goes. He's going to tell her what this is going to cost her. I'll take 10% off our usual price, 5% more because you're so nice. Add in the tax and the cost of the labor. Shipping and handling will do you no favors. The cost is 1 million Ganymede dollars. But that price includes the cost of installers. I don't have it, Persephone squealed, and Dad's away on some asteroid field. Because of the ions, he can't be phoned. It will be May before he comes home. Don't worry, Princess, Jim soothingly said. We'll work it out. And he patted her head. I'll loan you the money, he said with a grin. And then you can have your floppy white tin. So there, he's giving $1 million cost, and Persephone doesn't have that, but he's gonna lend her the money. A loan? Asked Persephone, dabbing a tear. Yes, Jim replied, so be of good cheer. I pay for the tin and you pay me back. Small monthly payments, I will keep track. You'll have 30 years to pay it all off. There will be a fee, he said with a cough. A fee? Asked the priestess, twisting her ring. Jim coughed one more time. It's not a big thing. There's a fee and some points and some interest too. It's money I'm paid so I can help you. Just sign this contract and I'll do the rest. Jim reached for a pen in the side of his vest. She started to read the contract he gave her, saw mystery words like rights and waiver, conditions, disclaimers, default, and lien, all in fine print that could barely be seen. So there she is with that contract that she can't understand. Think she's going to sign it? It ran 50 pages, her royal head spun. I'll sign, said the princess. Let's get it done. Spice shouted, stop, so mad she could spit. Let the king's lawyers go over it. Of course, Spice, said Jim. We can delay, but the price goes up if we don't sign today. Oh, Spice, said the princess, Jim is legit. Be quiet, I want to get on with it. Yeah, it's not looking good, is it? She's reaching for that pen. She signed the contract and gave it to Jim. He came back later with 15 workmen. They took one whole day to install the tin, and never were they to be seen again. Alas, the tin did not meet its billing. The wind still broke through, ever as chilling. The princess phoned Jim, but to no avail. And then the first bill arrived in the mail. The princess assumed the payment would be a few $1,000s, no more than 3. $1 million spread over 30 years would make the monthly payments appear to be quite small, so she was aghast when she read the bill and got this blast. $33,000 were due. Oh my gosh, she cried, what shall I do? My allowance will never cover this. This bill's way too high. Something's amiss. There she is, that big, long bill, and a really high payment. She looked at the bill, fine print and all, searched till she found a number to call. She dialed the number, was put on hold. She waited an hour, and then was told by someone named I Am Full of Spite that the billed amount was perfectly right. Points and fees seemed to cause the trouble, increased the loan by exactly double. $2 million on an account at 20% interest did amount to $33,000. That was firm, due each month by the contract terms. But how, she asked, trying not to cry. Compounding interest was IM's reply. With interest compounded annually, the loan, it balloons exponentially. A 30-year loan is what you've got. The interest adds up. You pay a lot. It's all in the contract, page 22. Now, when will you make the first payment due? Persephone slammed the phone down hard, decided right then she would discard that bill and all others that came in the mail. What can they do, she thought, put me in jail? Throwing away those bills, just ignoring them. This doesn't sound good. Ganymede's sheriff came 3 months later with something called an eviction paper. Sorry, Your Highness, he said, quite bereaved. You don't pay your loan, you've got to leave. Look at your contract, page 38. You lose your home when you're 3 months late. Aluminum Jim now owns the castle. Go quietly, please, without a hassle. The princess and spice knew they were beat. They moved to the local holiday suites. The princess in tears, her mood was quite black. She definitely wanted her castle back. Here, she's having to leave. She's lost the castle. Now Spice, she had a magic thought cap given to her by her great uncle Hap. It gave her ideas in a snippety snap that saved her from many a prior mishap. She put it on, did a flip and half gainer. Princess, she shouted, that's it, a no-brainer. We'll go see Madam Anna, your pal. She's the perfect dissolve-a-lean gal. As head of Ganymede's Fairness Commission, she puts crooks and lenders out of commission. We'll show her the contract, explain our plight, and then we'll give Jim a good, proper flight. There, Spice has a plan to get them out of this predicament. Anna, your pal, was quite irate to learn the princess had lost her estate. This contract's a sham, she said with a zing. Your Highness, how could you sign such a thing? Didn't you read it? She asked with raised brow. Well, reading's no fun, Persephone scowled. I'll help you, said Anna, with this caper, but from now on, please read every paper before you sign on the dotted line. I may not be able to help next time. Scoundrels like Jim are called predators. They'll strip you down to your underdrawers. They lend you money, knowing you lack enough of an income to pay them back. I help all folks, be they rich or poor, boot these bad predators out the door. But to protect yourselves from such misdeed, these horrible contracts people should read. Then Anna donned her black fairness gown. With gavel in hand, she twirled around. I decree this contract null and void. This fraudulent paper is destroyed. There we go. Anna, your pal, to the rescue. As Anna chanted, a strong wind blew, whipped away Jim and the siding too. The siding was gone, so was the loan. The princess and Spice hurried back home. There we go, Jim being taken away. Wish it was that easy in the real world. King Harris returned in the middle of May. Never a word did Persephone say about her woes with aluminum Jim. What was the sense in telling him? But the king noticed something quite new. The princess had always strongly eschewed reading anything at all. It gives me a headache, she would bawl. But now she was reading lots and lots. Ticket stubs, phone bills, cereal box tops. Any paper that came into view, the princess would read thoroughly through. She became a lawyer many years later, an expert at reading contract paper. renowned throughout the Milky Way for keeping cheats and scoundrels at bay, protecting the meek and the law and abiding from crooks like Jim and his cheap tin siding. All right, so there she is. Happy ending. Thank goodness. All of my books end with happy endings. So there's my book. I hope you liked it. Good, good. Now, Princess Persephone made a lot of mistakes. And I think now we're going to all turn back to the tables, and I'm going to be talking with you in small groups so we can talk about the mistakes Princess Persephone made and talk about the other books and answer any questions you have. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Miss Sheila. So stay put. Wasn't that a great book? So you will ask your parents when you go home, say, Mom and Dad, do you read fine prints on your contract? Ask them, okay? I really want to hear that, and I want to ask Mr. Ricardo here. By the way, Mr. Ricardo, thank you so much. Mrs. Sosa, the whole team, thank you, thank you. You guys put this together for over a month, and this is, to me, just by doing that, I know all of you will be very, very rich someday, and you will save your money, right? So let me call Miss Karen Jung. She is the Chief of Staff of Commissioner Hawk of California Public Utilities Commission. It's called CPUC. But you don't know, it's too complicated. But Karen, if you can just welcome the kids and tell them what CPUC maybe can do to their parents or to them too.
Hi everyone. Most people don't know what the PUC is, including your parents, so I totally understand. But who here has a cell phone or wants one? Raise your hand. Yeah. Who here had to do online schooling during COVID? Right, okay. So what we do is we try to close the digital divide. We try to make sure that everyone's connected affordably, make sure that low-income, disadvantaged communities aren't left behind. But we also do of everything, every utility that you can imagine. So your electric bill, gas bill, water bill, these are all things that affect your parents and will affect you one day, especially if you have cell phones. So your data access plan, all of that stuff needs to be affordable, right? So we regulate that stuff. But on a bigger scale, we're all here for equity to make sure that people like you all have a fighting chance. With climate, we regulate water, make sure that there's a fundamental human right to water, because there are a lot of communities that don't have that as well. So I hope that one day I can inspire one of you guys to work with us at the state level. California is known for leading the way in the nation, and we do more here that gets national attention than most other states because we're one of the largest economies in the world. So keep that in mind. You guys are in a really good place, and I really hope that you participate and you learn a lot of financial smarts from Sheila, because that's also part of this, right? Knowing who's trying to take advantage of you, who's trying to earn money off of you. You should always be smart about it. And it's been really inspiring and such an honor to be here with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Karen. Please stay here. Just stay because we're going to have a picture. Now, I want to introduce to you a really inspiring woman also, that someday we're going to be like Whitney. So, Whitney works for Spectrum. You know how I made it? I made it hard. It was harder for me compared to you guys. But I always look up to mentors. So today also, I want you to get like a mentor, someone that will guide you to be a better person and be rich. I know you all want to be rich. So Whitney?
Thank you, Faith. I don't know if I'm rich, but I certainly love my career. So, as Faith noted, I'm Whitney. I'm Vice President of Government Affairs for Charter Spectrum. So Spectrum is a telecommunications provider. We provide internet, mobile, voice service, and cable television. So I hope everyone here had a digital connection during the pandemic and was able to continue their education. And thank you for your comments, Karen. We couldn't agree more at Spectrum that closing the digital divide is a absolute societal imperative, and we are here to be a part of the solution. Those of us who are adults who come back to public schools like yours after we've gone through them, we are always inspired to see all of you and all of your potential. And I didn't know what I was going to do when I was in high school. I had no idea what I was going to do, if I was going to go to college. Once I was able to get a scholarship and go to college, I had no idea what I was going to do for a career. I am so pleased that I was able to find a mentor, and that mentor was able to tell me about politics and about the world of government affairs. And I started to work for elected officials. I won't bore you with my own career, but I will tell you that this rural Oregonian who never ever thought they would step foot in a shiny building spent a lot of years on Capitol Hill. I'm here. I believe in all of you. I hope you'll continue your education, and I hope you'll look for a job at Spectrum when you do so. Okay, please, I'm going to hand it back, but please come to me and talk to me if you're interested in being a mentee.
Thank you. And that role of somebody guiding you has been the kind of the concept that we're doing today. So we have our older students that are mentoring using the books, and that's what we're doing next, right? So we have our tables, we're gonna dismiss you guys in, but let me just make sure that we get this closing picture. So I'm gonna ask our project manager, Ms. Shomara, Ms. Sosa, and Madam President to come on up. We'll stand over here and take the picture, and then we'll be able to dismiss you guys. And I believe you guys are gonna each take your chair to the booth. All right, so let's crowd in here, let's crowd it standing right in front. Come on in. Oh yeah, just there. Hold the booth.